Hi everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Fit for Piano Repertoire Workouts. My name is Melody and I am a piano teacher based in Auckland in New Zealand. Over the past few years, I've had the pleasure of working alongside Associate Professor Rae on Fit for Piano. Fit for Piano is all about making playing the piano happier, healthier, easier and more musical. So in these episodes, we will explore some popular choices from multiple examination boards and give you tips on how to make the teaching of these pieces more effective in the lesson, especially when it comes to teaching technique. We will start from the lower grades and work our way through all the way to the more advanced grades. So let me welcome Rae to the episode.
Hi Melody and hi everybody. Well, the most important thing to me is that from the very earliest years, children enjoy playing the piano. They're not going to enjoy it if it's too difficult, if it feels uncomfortable, or if they don't like the sound that they make. So that's why I wrote Fit for Piano, to provide some really simple exercises which will help to make the playing easier, more fun. And I want students to be rewarded by what they hear, so that when they practice they get a really quick result. And then that inspires them to want to make music. One of the problems that we've inherited from past decades is that the idea that we need to start with a C major hand position, thinking only about the fingers. Unfortunately, this can easily cause stiffness, and after all, our fingers and thumb are all of different lengths, and that will cause that twisted position which is guaranteed to produce stiff wrists. After all, playing the piano is so much more than fingers, and I want from the very beginning for the student to be able to coordinate their arms, their hands, their wrists in the movement so that playing the piano is a pleasure.
Thank you for that, Rae. So let's have a look at some pieces. Now, we will start with a Russian folk song by Beethoven, which appears in both the Trinity Grade One and the NZMEB syllabuses. So in my experience, students would often come back after the first week of learning this piece and make the repeated notes in the right hand quite heavy with really little articulation.
Well, probably for this piece, which starts like this, probably the reason for that stiffness is that students are playing with a set hand position, leaving their fingers over a rigid hand position, and probably also using too much of the arm for the repeated notes. Now in Fit for Piano we have a lovely exercise for repeated notes. It's called sweeping, and has a lovely picture here of the broom sweeping the piano key, and that's what we encourage our fingers to do on the key. But the repeated note action doesn't just involve fingers like that, it involves the whole arm in the movement. So I would actually teach that exercise outside the piece. I'd give the exercise from Fit for Piano, and you'll notice that when I play those repeated notes, my hand goes down and then it floats forward and up as my hand leaves the key. That means it's got no tension in it, and it also means that those repeated notes will be nice and light. So therefore we'll get something like point. We don't actually need to change our finger on the repeated notes. Some people might think we have to do that, but in fact the movement will take care of the repeated notes and they will sound anyway.
Thank you for that, Rae. So now we move on to another really popular Grade 1 piece called The Hunt or the Chase by Gurlitt. And I think this is a really great piece to introduce little hands to play two-note slurs. Rae, could you just let us know why you think two-note slurs is one of the most important movements when it comes to piano technique?
Well, if we think of the things that we need in order to play well, we have to make a sound, which we can do by falling onto a note, and we have to release from the keyboard without any tension. So if we take that movement over two notes, we have the two-note slur. And that gives us two ways of making a sound. We can make it with a downward movement or an upward movement. And those two sounds will sound different. If we float off the second note will be lighter. But if we spring off the second note, it will have its own character. So in this piece, we don't want the second note to sound weak. So we need to use the spring off slur. So it'll be like this. And on the third note, we going to stay in one place. So instead of springing off, we're going to remain on the key. So here we spring off, and that will make those two-note slurs sound really alive.
And what about in bar 5? I often find little hands have trouble getting around those bigger intervals.
Yes, indeed. This goes like this. And if I leave my hand over those notes in a set hand position, I'm going to be, especially with a smaller hand than mine, they're not only going to be stiff, but it's going to be really uncomfortable for that student because, as you can see, my hand is twisted. So what we need to do is a sort of a circular movement. For that we need the circular movement that we talk about in Fit for Piano, the wrist circle exercise. And we also need not to leave our hand in that set position. So we need to close the thumb after it's played so that we reduce the stretch. It's even more important when we get to the next line of the piece where the intervals are larger. You'll notice that my thumb closes quite a long way in order to negotiate that stretch over the 7th.
Okay, so I've got a really fun little game to teach these two-note slur movements and also ensuring that we've got a really good tone on the second note, and I call it Send the Cupcake.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like a skier or surfer lingo for making it send or send it off. So we are going to put a little cupcake on the top of the hand and then we're going to send it.
Oh, great. That's
would you
terrific.
like to try it?
Yes, I would.
Yeah? Would you like a burger or...
I'm going to have a burger.
Okay.
Right, okay. So here we are.
So we are going to put it on top of our hand and then send it.
Oh, look at that. Fantastic. I did that. Great,
nice. Yeah.
Great.
So after we have played this game, I think most kids are going to be pretty happy with an interactive game in the lesson. And obviously when we're playing this piece, we don't want great big movements and really emphasize sound. So we can actually gradually reduce that to a slightly more subtle movement. So we're going to make the sending movement a little bit smaller.
Right.
There you go.
That's really clear.
Okay, so that is all we have time for today. And if you liked today's video or you took something useful away from it, please remember to hit the subscribe or follow button and give us a thumbs up as well. And let us know if you want us to cover any specific pieces in the future. And thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Sure.